Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Epic Gangsta Tales. Today we're gonna start out. We're gonna do our first episode on the Philadelphia crime family, the Bruno Scarfo family, if you will. And boy, do we have an interesting character that we're gonna get into today. Today's episode is gonna be on Francis Faffy Iannarella of the Philadelphia crime family. Francis Faffy Iannarella was born on April 27th, 1947 in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Faffy was a loyal and effective hitman under family boss and all-time nutball, Nicky Scarfo'S Sr. In my opinion, this guy Faffy was a 5-star hitter. Just a lot of... If you've ever read Mafia Prince by Scott Bernstein, it's a great book. And man, does this guy put in a lot of work in that book. He was right up there with other Bruno Scarfo family hitters, like, the likes of Salvi Testa, Chucky Molino, even the king himself, Nicky Scarfo, who before becoming boss, had did in a whole bunch of different guys. You know what I mean? There was even that incident, in the South Philly diner where he ends up doing in an Irish longshoreman who's like 6'2", steals the seat or whatever, and Nicky Scarfo picks up a butter knife and pokes this guy right in his heart. So ends the Irish longshoreman. That's just one that sticks out. There's plenty of them. You know what I mean? Scarfo was a paranoid nutball, but he was a tough bastard regardless of what you're gonna say. You know what I mean? He was just, it is what it is. He kept it how it was, and man, he was a tough bastard. A nut, but a tough bastard. But either way, you mentioned the toughest, most street-savvy mobsters in the Philly crime family, especially under Scarfo from about 81 to roughly 87-ish. You will always have Faffy Iannarella's name mixed in with all the hitters and family tough guys. And like I said, it's really, I've read every mob book from A to Z. And Scott Bernstein's Mafia Prince on, really the Scarfo mob and stuff like that is excellent. Might be the best mob book I've ever read. But either way, it's up there. And you'll get all the stuff we're talking about today. You can reference from that book as well. Great book. And in that book, you'll see how crazy the Philly mob was back then, especially under Scarfo with guys like Faffy Iannarella. Like I was saying, Faffy comes from a family entrenched in mob lore. The Iannarellas hailed from South Philly. Faffy's father was a mobster in the Philadelphia crime family as well. The father, Frank Iannarella, never rose above soldier, but was well respected and juiced in with the administration of the family, i.e. back then Angelo Bruno. Had very close ties with family boss Angelo Bruno. Faffy Iannarella picked up a rifle for his country long before he ever picked up a pistol for Nicky Scarfo. Faffy served in the United States Marine Corps and was deployed to fight over in Vietnam, where he earned medals and ribbons for valor and fighting for his country. So say what you will, but when it was go time and people were dodging the draft and hiding in their houses, hoping to not get picked to go over to Vietnam, Faffy Iannarella stuck his paw up in the air and said, "Hey, send me." You know what I mean? That says a lot, and you can't not respect that. You know what I mean? I too was in the Marine Corps, so say I'm a little biased, if you will, but you know what I mean? Like, this guy always stood out to me. This guy, just a tough bastard. But yeah, anytime somebody, puts themselves in the line of fire, during a time of war, and commits a selfless act for your country, you know what I mean? And, it's very admirable. And after fighting overseas in Vietnam, Faffy came back home to South Philly and got into the family business. Faffy's father started bringing him around, introducing him to certain people, and Faffy would fall in with family captain Joseph Chicky Cianglini, a mainstay in the Philly mob, the Cianglinis. Come on, if you've ever, studied up on the Philly mob and stuff like that, and you know a thing or two, the Cianglini name is mob royalty, out in Philly. But, it wouldn't be long before Faffy was asked to pick up a pistol, not for the Marine Corps this time, but for family boss and certified nutball Nicky Scarfo Sr. Francis Faffy Iannarella would make his bones by doing a piece of work for family boss Nicky Scarfo by way of his captain, Chicky Changlini, who told a young and eager Faffy, "You do this, kid. You're on a fast track to get that button of yours." So on October 6, 1981, Faffy Iannarella, along with pal and fellow mobster Tommy Del Giorno, would empty their guns into an unsuspecting Philly loan shark named John Calabrese, who had ducked Scarfo's lucrative street tax one too many times and ended up a stained glass window. You know what I mean? If you get what I'm saying. It was this piece of work that would have family boss Nicky Scarfo give Faffy his button in a ceremony. Back in January 1982, Francis Faffy Iannarella would become a made man in the Bruno Scarfo crime family. Joseph Chicky Changlini was sent off to prison to serve a long, lengthy prison term in the feds back in June 1982. So after Chicky Changlini goes off to prison, where he does like 30 years straight, Faffy began working under Chucky Merlino, the father of Joey Merlino, and he and Faffy would grow close and develop a strong connection with each other. During late 82, all the way through 1983, the Scarfo crime family was embroiled in a vicious civil war between Nicky Scarfo and the Riccobeni faction of the Philly crime family, which, you wouldn't think that Harry Riccobeni, who looked like one of Santa's workshop elves, he was standing tall at about 4 foot 11 inches, him and his brothers, you wouldn't think they would really, really pose that much of a problem for Nicky Scarfo and co. But they did. They definitely did. And the most famous hit the Riccobenis pulled off was whacking family consigliere Frank Monti. A staunch Scarfo loyalist was knocked off by a sniper rifle while he was pumping gas in his car. A Riccobeni gunman set up 2 blocks up the street, and an old Ford Bronco turned into a makeshift sniper nest. Crazy, and hit Frank Monti right in the head. Now the war went back and forth. Santa's little helper, Harry Riccobeni, the leader of the rebel faction, ate 5 rounds in a South Philly phone booth, and what would be a famous hit, but like I said, he was sitting in a South Philly phone booth and ate 5 rounds, which the tough little bastard ended up, with his would-be assassin's gun. And when police asked how he ate 5 rounds and ended up with the assailant's pistol, a wisecracking Riccobeni stated, "He was done using it," And this was the same war that saw the Mafia Prince himself, Salvi Testa, take buckshot to the shoulder by Riccobeni gunmen. And Salvi Testa was out looking to score for Nicky Scarfo later on that night. Stitches still in his shoulder. Just a tough bastard. There was a lot of these guys. There was a lot of tough guys that Nicky Scarfo just, had under him and around him. It wasn't just Nicky Scarfo who was a nutball too. He had a whole bunch of young guns, the young executioners and all them. But it would be Faffy Iannarella with the 2 most memorable hits for the Scarfo faction during the Riccobeni War. And on November 3rd, 1983, Faffy would sneak up on Riccobeni loyalist Salvatore Tamburino and plug him 3 times in the head as he sat in an idling vehicle outside of his residence in South Philly. And the best hit of the Riccobeni Scarfo War was when a hit team consisting of Faffy and 3 others tracked down Robert Riccobeni, the brother of Harry Riccobeni, to his mother's house on December 6, 1983. He ran up to Robert Riccobeni, who saw Faffy coming with a sawed-off shotgun and tried to run. Ended up getting stuck on a fence trying to jump over his mother's fence. Faffy walked up, hit Robert Rico Benny right in the head with a sawed-off shotgun, and so ended Robert Rico Benny, and essentially the Scarfo Rico Benny war at that point. You know what I mean? It was pretty much done at that point. But after he had plugged Robert Rico Benny, a wild screaming lady who was Robert Rico Benny's mother ran up and tried attacking a now fleeing Faffy. So Iannarella took the sawed-off shotgun and hit her in the head with the butt of it, knocking her out. And then they end up, making a smooth getaway and whatnot. But just a crazy scene, if you can imagine. Imagine the guy's mother coming, and it's just a crazy, crazy scene. And I highly recommend reading Mafia Prince if you get the chance. A great, great book. And after all he did during the Rico Benny War, Faffy was upped to official captain in the Philadelphia crime family by boss Nicky Scarfo. But as you well know, that these stories all end the same, and Faffy, Scarfo, and almost the whole Bruno Scarfo crime family under little Nicky Scarfo was indicted in 1987, and unfortunately in 1989, Faffy, along with many others in the crime family, were hit with stiff sentences. Faffy himself was convicted and sentenced to 45 years in prison. Fortunately, he was paroled and freed from prison on July 8th, 2016. It is said he's long been retired from a life of crime. He is just a family man today. But this has been another episode of Epic Gangsta Tales. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I just want to take a second to thank everybody, the subscribers, the views, everything has gone through the roof. It's definitely, motivated me to put more into it and keep this thing going and stuff like that. So I just wanted to give all the viewers and subscribers a shout out. Thank you guys for rocking with the channel. And if you like this video, like, comment, share, and most importantly, guys, subscribe. The channel is growing. Pretty soon we'll be able to do a whole lot more. Eventually the lives and all that stuff, comes with the subscribers and the view count and stuff like that. So a special thanks to you guys. Thank you. I hope you had a good weekend, and I will see you sometime this week. Take care, guys.